Welcome to Prime Life. We call it Retirement 2.0. Leave each episode with tips and new ideas to help you navigate retirement in our new age. It's your time. Make it count.
This podcast is for educational purposes only. It is not intended as medical, investment, or financial advice. We do not sponsor or endorse any of the individuals, companies, products, or services featured on this podcast. Any statements or opinions expressed are of the individual who makes them. We hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Prime Life Podcast. I am very excited today for our guest and excited to be here with my co-hosts, Laura and Mary. I've got a lot of baggage, and I don't know what to do with it, guys. What do you guys think?
Well, if you were to ask my husband, he would say, throw it all away. But because I happen to like certain pieces of baggage, I would say it's probably going to take you a while to go through it.
How you doing, Mary? What about you?
What would I say to that? I would agree with Laura. Save what you think you need to hold on to and then throw the rest away. I'm a thrower, so for me to even say keep some of that is big because I want to throw everything away. That's just how I am. I like to get rid of the excess and move on, move forward, keep your eye looking forward.
I'm not that good.
With that preamble, Let's introduce today's guest.
Thank you, Joseph. I'm excited to introduce Ellen Goodwin. She's the co-founder and CSO of Artifacts. Ellen, tell us what a CSO does and a bit about yourself and the company.
Thank you, Mary, Joseph, Laura. It's a pleasure to be here. Yes, Chief Solutions Officer. So in a nutshell, I'm the one that's day in, day out, staring at our product and working on the innovation side and working with our engineering team to deliver that all to our members. So that's my day to day. Together with my co-founder, Heather Nickerson, we manage all of the, everything from marketing and podcasts to partnerships and more. My background and how on earth I got here, my co-founder and I grew up together at the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency. We're both intelligence briefers. I had the hard life, downtown DC with a cabinet official. She had the hard life in Afghanistan. So very different briefing experiences, but that was our course. And we became friends through our training program there. And we came back together after her going into build a privacy practice and myself in a data technology world. So we came together under a new mission, and that is where we're at Artifacts, uniting the stories behind all the objects in our lives so that we can kind of know each other better today and be better prepared every day. And that's the heart of what we're up to.
I love the background of the intelligence officers now spreading intelligence of personal items and telling stories. So how'd you come up with this app, right? There's tons of apps out there. Why this? Why now? And how's it going?
Yeah. Well, when my co-founder's mother passed away unexpectedly, what she realized was she didn't want stuff. She wanted the stories and memories. And for her, it was nearly too late, right? There's always some family and friends that can try and fill in the blanks. But, what she didn't want, she's like, an inventory isn't going to help me. I don't need an Excel sheet. I don't need Post-it notes. I need the stories and the memories, and I need help going through all this stuff because it's not going to magically take care of itself. There aren't joy piles lying around, a joy pile for keepsakes and a joy pile for whatever. So for her, she needed help in both ways. And there was no solution, right? It wasn't an inventory. It wasn't a storytelling means. I stopped count at 50 companies that will just help you with stories and memories. But how are we going to tackle all of this stuff too? It's not going to disappear. Now, there are people, like you said at the start of the show, that will just say, just toss it in a dumpster. It's actually the rare person that truly wants that for themselves and for their loved ones. And why can't we do more to change our relationship with stuff? And so when Heather came to me with this idea for Artifacts, I said, that's great. It's not an Excel sheet. It's not Post-it notes. So what is it? And she said, well, that's kind of for you to figure out. I'm like, oh, that's a lot to figure out. our founding principle is kind of a human media 1.0 approach, right? So we had the benefit of building Artifacts while all the social media giants were defending their practices on Capitol Hill. And we said, okay, take note. We don't want view counts and we don't want emojis and we don't want the negatives that we were grappling with after, a full decade of it. And so our principle was, how do we make it as easy as social media? Literally take a picture, click share. We're really good at that. And choose the app. And then once you choose our app, you fill in a few details, hit save, and you've started your collection. It's that simple. And how's it going? It's great. We're learning more and more every day of how we partner with those who are helping people physically with the stuff. The movers, the downsizers, the declutterers, the insurers, right? There are a lot of people helping us with stuff in different ways. And we're trying to make sure that by the simple act of creating an artifact, you're prepared for it all.
So how does it work? I've been on the site. I'm clicking around. Explain, say I'm interested. Where do I start? How do I begin?
Yep. And what we recommend to everybody, and this is our product or any other product, start free. Like that is where I always start, right? I want to know, okay, I always work on my phone or I always work on an iPad or whatever it is. I want to know it works where I work. And I want to know that it's really easy for how my brain works. My brain might be dysfunctional. Who knows? I want to know it works for me. So what I recommend is literally click get started free, create your free account, and create an artifact, right? So you can do it right on the desktop or on your mobile phone. Grab a photo. I sit at my daughter's swim meets for hours on end while she swims for like 2 minutes. So I will pick a most recent photo. We just had this great family time carving pumpkins, right? And that pumpkin's going to go away. This is a weird kind of artifact, but what we also did was we made our family recipe for pumpkin soup and we put it in the little cauldron, Harry Potter cauldron bowls. So it's this great experience, but I artifacted the recipe, I artifacted the pumpkin with it, and I told the story about that day. So now I have that recipe. I just took a picture of it. I added it, took the picture of the pumpkin, added it, titled it, added a few memories about it, and hit save. That's it. I tend to tag all my artifacts. So all my Halloween ones have the tag Halloween. So I can click the tag and I see all the Halloween related artifacts. And you can bet I've been going back in time and artifacting all of her Halloween costumes. I am not keeping them. Like they will degrade. Why can't I artifact, enjoy the memory, and send it on to somebody else's home to use that costume again? Because it's not helping me.
So a couple things. That sounds awesome. I think that's good practice. So I'm thinking about my parents. They're still with us and they're in their 80s. And recently my mom and dad have said things like, if you want something like write your name on it, which I get very emotional and like, oh, please don't go there. And then I just like, I don't know. So there's that piece, right? And then my mom is an amazing cook. She still cooks. She just is. And my husband said the other day, we should get your mom's recipes, but a lot of them are up in her head for sure, written down so that, we have them and we can share them through the generations. Our daughter, Alex, is, she loves to cook. And I like to cook a little bit, but, just to have that because her recipes are amazing and she cooks across all the different, ethnicities. We're Italian, of course, but, again, she cooks across the gamut and she's really talented and she loves to cook because it means something to her emotionally. So that all said, that's like a commentary. I can picture though this, comment about now with all of the privacy worries and all of the, okay, if I take a photo, who owns it? How does Artifacts address that, especially for those who are maybe a little bit older and they're just not sure about how all of that works?
And we'll get that answer after a brief word from our commercial sponsors.
NASA is always working harder to be your carrier of choice. We offer insurance products that can help you meet your retirement goals, such as protecting your savings, securing lifetime income, or paying for healthcare costs. We're dedicated to providing best-in-class service and are keeping things simple, and we'll have your back. We have around 400,000 policyholders and contract holders and have been doing this for a long time, 170 years, but we remain humble enough to always try to improve. For more information, visit nfg.com. Nassau insurance products are issued by Nassau Life and Annuity Company of Hartford, Connecticut, Nassau Life Insurance Company, East Greenbush, New York, or Nassau Life Insurance Company of Kansas, Overland Park, Kansas. Subsidiaries of Nassau Financial Group. Products are not available in all areas. Policyholder counts are for all Nassau companies as of September 30th, 2022, and are subject to change.
Coverite is the first digital concierge health insurance platform focused on Medicare. Their mission is to make Medicare more transparent and accessible for America's 60 million Medicare beneficiaries. By simplifying a traditionally confusing and complex decision, Coverite delivers a simple, seamless, and hassle-free plan selection and enrollment experience. Try the Coverite platform and see for yourself why they've been referred to as the TurboTax for Medicare. Visit coverite.com/podcast to learn more.
Yeah, and for good reason. We've been burned as a society with all of these apps that are out there. And privacy and security, given our backgrounds, was paramount. I mean, my co-founder even wrote a book on privacy. She lectures on it all the time. She has a keynote for the photo managers all about privacy and photo organizing. Look, I think that it is on us to be good stewards of our products so we can help you all be good stewards of your life objects. And so what that means in the case of your mother is she can easily artifact her recipes. You can even add audio video. One of my favorite artifacts is actually my mom's recipe card. And then I have her and my daughter by Zoom during COVID on video with my mom teaching her how to make one of the key steps. Right? So, how do you twist it or whatever it is? So in that artifact, I have my recollection of bringing that coffee cake to Chicago every Christmas. I have the recipe in my mother's handwriting, and I have her and my daughter forever on video, all the dots connected. Everything I put in that artifact is private by default. I have to make the choice if I want to share that artifact with a loved one or not, right? But by default, it's private. Nobody can see it. And to take that a step further, one of our fears in building artifacts was, great, what if instead it was a family heirloom and my mom wanted to pass it down to me? And she artifacts this painting that has been in the family for a long time. She even includes privately in the documentation the appraisal for it, right? So she has this and she says, okay, here's where it's located. There's a location field. Here's how much it's worth. There's a value field. And here's the documents. What we didn't want to have happen is someone to say, I'm going to post that in social media to share this beautiful painting. And guess what? Social media, here's the location and the value and the documents to prove it's yours. No. So certain fields in your artifacts are never shareable. And to take that one step further, she has chosen, maybe she in the future on the field in the artifact, maybe she says, I want Mary to have this one day. So she goes to in the future, she chooses bequeath, and she puts Mary's name in there. Now, let's say you have two siblings and she shares this artifact with you all privately and gives you access to view it. What we didn't want to have happen is a family fight because now everybody knows Mary gets the painting. So the field in the future is also private only to the person who created that artifact so that we don't start family fights. We really hope that field sparks conversations about the things that are valuable to us and what they mean to us and what we hope to have happen to them someday. But we don't want to be the one spilling the secrets.
You just opened up a whole can of worms to talk about. So let's dive into a few of them. You've described the product and the platform, with the story aspect of it, but you also just mentioned this painting and value and location. So there is an element of inventory, if you will, right? You've seen all these shows where people are digging through garages and, I don't know, I found this. And, so now you can actually say, okay, this is worth X. Could you maybe go into that a little bit more and explain some of the practical uses of that feature? But also, since you just brought up this bequeath thing, I'm not a lawyer, but what would take precedence, a will or this? So.
Right. Nope. Great questions. Okay. We are not a legal instrument. Let me say that again. We are not a legal instrument. Now, you can put that information there, and guess what? even if it says, there's another field that says, I want to donate this item. And it tells you, here's the IRS code about donations. Like, go talk to your estate advisor. We tell everyone, and it makes it really easy, right? If you've created all these artifacts, click, 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 share, choose the email of your estate attorney or pop it into your will. It's easy to do. And that is what we wanted to do, right? So if I'm sitting down at the end of a long day and I have 5 minutes and I want to capture that moment, that story behind something, let's make sure it has more than one benefit, right? I'm very tired of unifunctional tools in my life. I need more for my time. So I'm going to create that memory. I can then share it to my estate plan. I can share it to my insurance agent, make sure it's covered under my policy. Maybe I need a rider. Have I even updated that policy in a long time? This is a great way to share this information with whomever is helping you with your financial affairs and make sure that they're fully informed so that you do have the best support that you can have, right? And even to that point about the painting, you might not know the value. And that is something that was kind of haunting us in the beginning as well. Is this like, oh, grandma threw it out and it was found at Goodwill and eureka, it's like worth $15,000. And so what we've built in is there's actually a button once you create your artifact. It says, what's it worth? You click the button and it will privately send this artifact to Heritage Auctions up in Dallas. It's the world's largest collectibles auction house. And they will give you a free valuation. A valuation is not a legal document like an appraisal. A valuation says, in today's market, this clock from this maker in this condition would go for $15,000. And they will attach that directly back into the artifact. No searching emails or texts or whatever. No Google. It's all in the artifact. And then you're like, okay, it's worth $15,000. I better have that insured. I need an appraisal, right? It helps inform you of next steps. $15,000 is a clock. I'm going on a trip. I'm going to sell that thing. I'm out of here. But it gives you the data point that you need to make that better decision. And so I think that is what we're trying to do. Make sure we're opening up those important conversations with financial planners, make sure we're opening up those conversations with our family, and making sure we're stopping to smell the roses. What does any of this mean to me? That's what we can provide our loved ones, is this roadmap through our home. These are the items that, if nothing else, start with them. They tell my stories.
I love that. It's so true and so powerful. And in the room behind me to the left, I have a family piano from the 1800s, and it's been in the family ever since then. The individual who first received the piano had a decision to make. Was she going to be educated, or did she want the piano? And she wanted the piano. So it's clearly important to the family. It's been through a house fire, luckily, knock on wood, not mine. So it's seen some love, but it's there. And it's because it's been cherished for so long, I can't get rid of it. And I don't want to, but at the same time, we don't play. So it's an interesting thing in our family where it needs to stay in our side. So I'm trying to gift it to my sister as a wedding gift. And she's like, no, not having it. So she may randomly find this piano on her front porch in Colorado, but that's a different story for another time. So I do appreciate artifacts, family artifacts. I appreciate things that are important to people and to family. And I was on the website clicking through, and there was an item that caught my eye because I have, the same pair of hiking boots. So one of Heather's artifacts, she has a pair of Asolo boots, and the story that goes along with hers, it's phenomenal. I'm not going to give any of it away. It's definitely worth clicking on. But I love this concept of being able to take a picture of an item that means something to you, create a story around it, right? Share your story. And then that way, even if I chuck the boots at some point, because I'm planning on wearing mine into the ground, right? They've been to the summit of Mount Washington at least 10 times. They've been all over New England, but I'm going to wear them into the ground. But my daughter, likely won't wear them because they're going to be in pieces, but she can understand where they've been. And I think there's power in that. So one is, it's just for anyone who hasn't been to the website yet, go on the website. I think if anything else, you're going to be so inspired to see people's stories, even if they aren't members of your family on here. It's amazing to see what people have saved and what it means to them. So that's more of a comment than a question. But my question to you is about the education, because on your website, you have a lot of education about how, artifacting, genie. Like, talk to us about how you educate your community and the power behind that.
Yeah, it's interesting, actually. And that journey is continuously evolving. of course, we have our blog. We call it Articles by Artifacts. We are now in the week 2 of our Evenings with Artifacts, a free webinar every Wednesday night where we bring in specialists. And that's the key. We are certainly very quickly becoming subject matter experts in the world of stuff. That's undeniable. But we don't know everything about it. And so we've actually spent a lot of our time and energy talking with the people who are touching the stuff, dealing with the stuff in different ways. And we think that's important. Even that button I talked about, what's it worth? I did not grow up in a world thinking about valuations and appraisals. It wasn't a part of my life experience. But as I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate not only is there a difference, but it can really affect the transition of wealth, even from generation to generation, and how I protect myself, right? My family did have one of those house fires, right? Where pretty much everything could have gone if it was another 5 seconds. And how do you recover from something like that? Now, part of it financially, you can be made whole, but all those memories, like you're going to end up wishing I had that photograph of that item and just be able to remember and sometimes recreate. And so I think that's a really powerful element and surfacing this at the right time, right? So we also try to collaborate with others who are pushing, because we're a small startup, right? Others can push out messages in a big way and we can reinforce it. So for example, September was Save the Photos Month. So we worked extensively with the photo managers so that we could deliver that tool, because a lot of photo managers are using us in their daily process, working and organizing photos, right? They can organize all 100,000 photos for you. They can, and they do a brilliant job. And 100,000 might be few for some folks. But how do you get to the stories behind them? Because the photos can't talk, right? We can animate them in creepy ways, but we cannot recover that story one generation removed, a second generation removed. They don't even know who's in that photo. And all we're doing is creating genealogy projects for ourselves. So we can do better. And so I think a big part of the education component is bringing in those people at the right moment and the right point in the conversation to help people where they're at. Last week was estate planning week. Lots of people talking about it. Again, I don't think I heard the term estate plan when I was a kid. Like it just was not part of my vernacular. And educating people on how to take those really small, easy steps to take that good, better, best. And I think that by bringing people to them at where they're at is that what we can do for folks who aren't specialists.
Ellen, I have 2 questions. One is, how have individuals, lawyers that are in estates, estate planning, trust and estates. Actually, my daughter happens to be in that category, or financial planners. How have they reacted to your product and services? And the second question is, do you have a story to share of someone, you don't have to name any names, where they've used your product and service and it's just, been an amazing story for them? Like anything that you can share, we'd love to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. So estate planners, financial planners, they are highly enthusiastic. Why? This is an easy way to engage their clients. It can be really hard to get to know them and get to the level of detail that can be transformative for how they're planning with them. Really understanding what makes them tick, what their goals are now and for the future of their family. Those can be tough when you're showing up and being like, and here's how you perform this quarter. It can be tough to move beyond the metrics and get that kind of engagement. And the fact of the matter is we all get these to-do lists instead from our financial planners and estate planners. And in our case, that to-do list almost always has a memorandum of tangible assets. And what is that? It's a list of stuff. And who gets it? That is really not fun exercise for folks. But if instead you can just say, here are my artifacts and share them, not only are you getting it done when you already were having some fun with artifacting, but you're gifting your loved ones a why, right? So the funny example I give is from my own family, where my sister is going to be inheriting this really heavy Buddha statue that has been sitting under the apple tree our whole lives. And it's funny because she's kind of like nomadic. She likes to move a lot. She doesn't have a lot of stuff. And she's going to inherit this heavy Buddha. And it's very easy for her to be like, what? No, not happening. I'm not taking this Buddha. It's smaller than a piano. I'll give Laura that. But, it's still a 50-pound Buddha. Then she got the story, and the story is hysterical. And she is keeping the Buddha, which is really sweet, right? But even at the end of the day, she might keep it for a decade and still change her mind. She still has the story. In terms of, so estate planners love us. We're helping them get stuff done, that to-do list, the tangible assets, but also we're helping, even more importantly, open up those conversations. We also do a lot of concierge artifacting. Will come into homes and help people do this. And I think that I'll be honest, a lot of people just want someone to tell a story too. We're not always the listeners that our parents would like us to be, that our grandparents would like us to be, but we're going to regret it, right? We're going to regret it when they're not there to tell us the stories and ask the questions. So I think our concierge service is filling an important gap that way. And to your other question, a good story. So one of my favorites is early on, I think we were only 6 months into Artifacts, and there's actually a story on our site that touches on this. It's called Because Who Wants 300 Miniature Pianos? It's a very good question. We all accumulate and collect things throughout our lives. And sometimes it's accidental, like 300 miniature pianos. And so in this case, the son-in-law heard about Artifacts and said, oh, that's it. That is what I need in my life. He gifted it to his mother-in-law and said, all of that stuff is not coming to my house. So you need to figure it out. And there's a great setting in Artifacts where you can have all of your artifacts automatically shared with view access to individuals that you give permission. So in this case, she gave permission to her daughter to see all of the artifacts she's creating. They're across states. They're not local to each other. And guess what happens? You can't emoji it. You can't just click it and move on. The daughter calls and she texts and she's like, hey, I want that. And that, you better not be sending that to me. I don't want that. So it is actually not only engaging across the generations, but it's helping with what people now are talking a lot about, Swedish death cleaning. This is what that's about. It's about every single day understanding what we have, what it matters to us, and what becomes of it. That is exactly what she's doing. And she's what we call a family keeper, this member. She has her stuff. She has her mother's stuff. She has her grandmother's stuff. She has cousins and other family that if her daughter doesn't want it, now she can have that conversation. Like, do any of you want it? Click share the artifact with them in a blink. But it's having those family conversations and knowing each other better now as we live.
This conversation, we've used the word stuff many times, and every time I hear it, I think of, I don't know if you've seen George Carlin's stuff routine. It's worth listening to. We're getting towards the end here, so I have one more question before I pass it along to my co-host here. Since you're head of innovation, the genealogy platforms will give you a leaf or whatever they do, and there's a connection. If I have a artifact that's similar to other people's artifacts, whether in the family or expanded beyond the family, are you looking at things like that, or where are you going next with the artifact?
Mm-hmm. Now an ad from one of our sponsors. Remember when you could trust the news? Well, then check out Walter. Walter is the free, no-nonsense newsletter for grown-ups that comes to your inbox 3 times a week. From current trends, aging in place, travel, retirement, and everything in between, including a dash of pop culture trivia and throwbacks, Walter is a great way to start your mornings and to stay informed. Oh, and did we mention that it's free? Check us out at thisiswalter.com. Get smart.
That question comes up quite a lot, actually. Especially, so, it was funny. In June, we received a Genealogy Technology Award from Family Tree Magazine. And I said to my co-founder, I said, are we genealogy technology? And she said, well, I guess we are today, as of today. And I was like, okay, here we go. And we just released a new feature on timelines. So now you can view all of your artifacts in timeline by year or decade. It's a really fast way to be like, I didn't exist in the 1990s. That's a fun trick. But you can find these gaps. You can keep track of what's happening. Yes. So genealogists, we have a lot of genealogists in our community, and they are super clever. They're very tech savvy. They're research oriented, and and they will make your platform sing in a way you didn't know it could. So to that point, what we've seen early on is that our genealogists, clever genealogists, when they say, I have this thing, it's from grandpa. Well, there's a field for where it came from. They're putting grandpa, comma, and the link to him in their family tree, which becomes an active clickable link. And you can reselect that person and that link over and over if you want. So they are doing that. They're also using tags to heart's content. Some of them have 40 tags on an artifact. They've tagged every family member in that photo or every family member that has some relevance to it. Where we're going is certainly, we are going to be sticking close with our genealogist friends who definitely want to see a connection between their artifacts and the family tree. And why? The why is actually the more interesting part. People are intimidated if they are not genealogists. They're intimidated going into galleries and trees and trying to connect the dots and understand third cousin one's room. They get really intimidated and they block it out. All they want is the story. They don't want to have to sift through 50 photos, 100 documents. They don't have to reread the documents even, right? People are a little lazy, but a little intimidated. But they just want the connected dots, and that's what an artifact offers. Here's the document, and here's the photo of them, and here's grandpa telling you the story, all in one artifact. So we do anticipate in 2024 having some connections there on the genealogy front. We're also working hard with the professionals who are taking care of the stuff and enabling them to artifact with their clients, the move managers, the photo organizers, all of those people who are literally in the homes all the time, hearing the stories anyway. We will be working on an upgrade to the platform to enable professionals to use artifacting within the course of their business to help people along the way as well. So those are a couple of the things that are on the docket for 2024.
It makes me think, Joseph, I don't know if this is where your question was going or not, but using the piano as my example, it's a Chickering piano. It's, from 18, et cetera. I'm sure I could just go look at it. Will I ever, on the platform, understanding that safety or, privacy and safety are of the utmost concern, would my piano ever be able to connect with another piano like it in artifacts? Like if I wanted to talk to a Chickering owner within the same, talk to us about that. That's what I thought. Yeah.
We do have, and actually, when we set out our product roadmap, when we first started Artifacts, we've almost gotten through what we call the musts. One of the musts is what you just hit on. And the way we envision it is a non-intrusive way. What I don't like is when I go onto a site and there's stuff everywhere and I don't know where to look. I have like 5 side panels and things are just, it's confusing and overwhelming. And I feel like I'm missing something. So we have already mocked it up a way to non-intrusively introduce more information about your artifact. Now that might be, here's information from any source. Wikipedia, New York Times mentioned it. It's outside sources that have talked about this object. So it was mentioned in New York Times article as a great example, or there's a whole Wikipedia page about it, or there's a collector's forum over here for objects like that, right? So one is surfacing information from outside artifacts about it. The second is, here are similar objects on the Artifacts platform to your object. And that will, again, be based on privacy, will still be paramount, right? So if you wanted to read that, if you wanted to get to more information about a similar object, you would have to then request access and that person would have to give you permission. But that is absolutely a place where we're going for it in the future.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So we're kind of drawing near the end. So before we get to the final question that Laura likes to ask, do you have any tips for our audience if they're thinking about, because this all sounds great and all of that, but it can be overwhelming for, I think, folks, and I think you kind of alluded to that to some degree. So do you have any tips as to if someone is just, it doesn't matter kind of what stage they are in their life, but they're thinking, this could be a good solution for me. What would you say to them?
Yeah. First, and always try it for free. I think you won't know until you try it. I think any product, you have to be able to try it for free to understand. Second is, I would say, call us. We are very open to, we'll hop on a 15-minute call, whatever it is. And you're going to say, I have collected this thing my whole life. I have this family situation. I have this life milestone. Everyone is unique. And there is an art to artifacting and making sure your artifacts do the most work for you that they can while having a lot of fun in the process. So I would say click that button, sign up free, just give it a try. You have any questions, I mean, it's all over our platform how to contact us, but I just start with hello@artifacts.com and we will get in touch with you right away. I think there's no time like the present. Frankly. And I think that this is a habit that you can adopt, and you can, if I clean out my phone every weekend on photos because it's just overwhelming. I can't take it. I think it's an easy habit to adopt. And then the platform starts working for you and you start seeing these timeline things accumulate and you start seeing your life a little bit differently and you start sharing and people call you. So I would say try it for free, see what you think, and contact us with any questions.
Well, I love that. And I plan on trying it for free because I think there's a lot of fun here. And you better believe I'm going to be sending my mother this link because she doesn't have a very heavy Buddha waiting for us, but she is a collector. So let's just say that my siblings and I have different tastes than she does. So anyway, fast forward to the question that we love to end episodes with. You've told us a lot about the company. You've told us a lot about the product. You told us what it does, how it helps people, how it shares stories, history. It brings together individuals, right? Connectivity, and builds a community at the same time. And all these things are very powerful, especially in today's world. You've had a very interesting past from what we know of it. And you're doing this work. You wake up every day and you're helping people. But what is your why? Why do you wake up every day and do this work?
Because we can do better than we have for each other. It's about human connection at its absolute core. When we were in our beta, someone said, I think you've built a museum to humanity. And I think that there couldn't be higher praise than that, is finding the way, especially as you said, in today's world, that we can bring ourselves together across divisions. And I think that's the power of artifacts, is to transform what could become a burden on us today or tomorrow into a source of joy and connection today.
Museum to humanity. That is a great way to end. Ellen, this has been amazing. Before we say goodbye, how can people get in touch with you? I know you mentioned hello, but are there other ways?
Yeah, please follow us on social media. We're doing the best we can as two former agency folks that much prefer to hide behind the scenes. But please follow us on social media. We have our Evenings with Artifacts going. We also have YouTube videos that we've been doing. These videos are direct responses to questions that we get. We're not that creative. So we just answer the mail a lot of the times. So these are questions. But yeah, please get in touch with us. Try it out. It's great gifting for the holidays. What's a better gift than I want to know your stories? So we hope to hear from your listeners.
Amazing. We'll make sure to put all the links into the show notes. Appreciate your time. Laura, Mary, thanks for joining us today. See you next week on another episode of the Prime Life Podcast. Have a great day, everyone.
Remember to subscribe to the Prime Life Podcast anywhere you find podcasts. You can find all of our episodes, contact information, and more on our website, primelifepodcast.com. Stay connected with us. Follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.